So we have an intonation issue with the guitar here, a Paul Reed Smith, excuse me, what is it, an SE Starla. So the bridge is actually like perfectly perpendicular to the strings instead of being slightly angled like on like a Gibson Les Paul or whatever. So what ended up happening is the kid cannot intonate the high E string. It's all the way to the very shortest distance and it still needs to go a little bit shorter. So what I'm going to do is fill this hole, re-drill the hole about 1/4 inch closer to the neck, and have this slightly angled. And there's enough room and everything to do it. And I left the strings on just because it's easy enough, you know. I just popped this off, pulled the little post stud, push-in, bushing, whatever, pulled that out, and now I'm going to take a hardwood dowel. And the issue is this dowel goes in nice and snug about halfway down, but about halfway up, because of the bushing, pushing some of the wood, there's a lot of loose, and I don't want to just fill that with glue or anything. So I have a 5/16 inch dowel, and it's slightly too big, okay, which is perfect. So I'm going to drill this hole a little bit bigger, get rid of the threads and everything inside so it's a nice clean hole, put this into it, you know, cut it of course, glue that into it, let it dry, and then we'll re-drill the hole. So I'm going to use this little step bit just to enlarge the top, because I'm afraid that if I put a drill into it first, it'll kind of skitter around a little bit, but it may chip the finish on the top. So I'm going to use this just to, because this I can go nice and slow, and it almost just kind of like a chisel, just kind of the edging. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then drill a 5/16 inch hole, and then I'll be back. Alrighty, drilled the hole, didn't chip any of the paint around it, so that was nice. And the dowel fits in nice and snug. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is mark how deep it's in, pull it out, cut it, sand it, you know, smooth on the top there, and then we'll glue it in. So, oh, yeah, look at that, mark it. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, it's a nice snug fit, and I sanded the top nice and smooth. It sanded the bottom a little bit just to make it slightly smaller than needed, because I'm going to tap it in hopefully perfectly flush and then not have to deal with, you know, shaving off the top little bit of it and stuff. So using a tight bond, just going to kind of dribble some in, and then I have a toothpick, and I'm just going to kind of drag it up the sides. Okay, I think a little bit more. I'll get it on the toothpick. Smear it on the sides. Okay, so that should be good. And now all I do is put that in and tap it down into place. Make sure that I'm not doing anything funky with the neck, so I'm supporting the body. This way it's completely supporting the body. And let's get back into frame. See, some glue's already easing out the top, which is fine. Take a little wet rag or whatever and wipe it off. So. Okay. So that seems great. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, let it dry, and then we'll re-drill it tomorrow. I took the stop tail piece off just so I could kind of work a little here. And what I'm going to do, oh, and I filled it. I'm toying with the idea of maybe trying to get a little bit of cream paint to paint that, because I don't think the lip on this is enough that it's going to cover it when I move it to like there. But we'll see. So anyway, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put this here. Okay, because I can't just take the center of this and move it, because then, you know, geometry. This is actually going to be, if I just make a straight line parallel with, say, the strings, then this distance is actually going to be longer. So I'm just going to take this, move it to about where I think I want it, about there, just taking a screw and tapping. That puts a little hole where I want the center to be. Okay, so I can see that it's slightly to the left of what looks like center. So that's totally right, because, you know, because that's geometry and all that, angles and hypotenuses and whatnot. So anyway, now I'm just going to drill a hole, and it looks like what I want to do is drill this some little, like, not threads, but little pieces that stick out. I want to drill for the smooth part, and that seems to be about 1/4 inch. I'm going to start with a smaller bit and work up progressively. Then I have the 1/4 inch, and I have some tape on it just to make sure that I don't go too deep. This distance is like maybe about half the thickness of the body, so even if I go slightly deeper, whatever, there's no danger, as long as I'm not just straight through. But anyway, what I did was I measured, just, you know, not even measured, just lined it up, and it goes slightly deeper because I don't want to do it not deep enough. Then I'm trying to hammer this in and it's not going in. So that's the deal. I'm going to drill a hole here, start with a small pilot hole in progressively bigger, and then we'll tap in the bushing and it'll be pretty much done. So stay tuned. I painted it with a little bit of white. It's not a great match, but when this goes in, it covers almost all of it. So, you know, that's going to be pretty nice. And if it really matters, because this is the bushing and this is the little thumb wheel, he can just take the bridge off, take the thumb wheel out. Don't even remove this. Just paint the little bit of exposed with a better match. And then when you put this on, that little tiny crescent will be a much better match. Okay. So, and the hole ended up being slightly larger than the 1/4 inch. Not a big deal. I just sort of took the drill and just went zzz, in and out a couple times, sort of effectively like reaming the hole slightly larger. Okay, now I'm just going to take a little piece of wood to protect and tap it in. So boom, it is in. Now the thumb wheel dealy. I'm going to lift the other one up a little bit. I don't know what his action he had set for. Okay, so there is a little bit of play in these, which is totally fine. This was set with the screws facing away from the neck. Boom! It's in there, and it's good to go. So, fixed it the correct way by doweling the hole and re-drilling. So there we are. Now I'm going to string it up and hand it back to him. I know he wants to put new strings on it, but that's his problem.